Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill. Morning, everybody. Or afternoon, or evening, or.
Sorry, my attention switched there for a minute because when I clicked on the broadcast, it says that we're out of storage. I'm not quite sure what that means, but we're going to carry on anyways. Recording storage. All right, so today we are talking about episode number 341.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of today's episode is How to Easily Remove Stress When Negotiating Gargantuan Real Estate Deals.
That's good.
Here's the description. Do you have an emotional strain when it comes to talking to or negotiating with real estate sellers to see if they are willing to do a creative transaction with you? Is it possible that this emotional tension is holding you back from becoming a multi-millionaire, or at least becoming financially free? Maybe you have a concern that your seller is going to have more questions than you have answers for, and your self-confidence soars into the gutter. What if I told you that this fear paralysis has an easy solution, and you now have the chance to overcome any and all mental, physical, and psychological stress when talking to real estate sellers to negotiate creative finance transactions? And you and I both know the only common denominator among highly successful real estate entrepreneurs is the mindset that nothing is more important than time spent directly interacting with prospect sellers. So let's reveal today's little secrets and get you comfortable doing this.
Yes, please. Right? I mean, I don't have all those problems. I'm sure I have some of those, of course, because I'm still somewhat human, unfortunately.
But I still have trouble with those. I've been doing it for 30 years and talked to thousands of people. Why do you think I could write that description that way?
I guess so. Yeah, it gets me more like if I'm off for a week or two for whatever reason, or just doing something completely different, then I gotta start doing phone calls again. You go like, But for me, as soon as I start talking to somebody, like, this is good. It's a person. Yeah. And I had a few phone calls this week. I'm doing more calls than usual lately. And I'll tell you, when you do what Bill says and what we've experienced, you know how a lot of phone calls end? They say, "Thank you, my friend."
Yeah.
Right? Even when it's like, "Oh, sorry, I don't think we can do," but it's really okay to talk to people and maybe be nice to them. But what's your angles today, Bill?
Yeah, well, it's probably anyways. So let's get into the housekeeping first. So first of all, we live stream this podcast every Thursday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, it's not a convenient time for you, but that's when we can do it, and that's how we've been able to do 341 shows. It's because we've believe it or not, for all those years, we've managed to do this same appointment every morning on Thursday. So, but we also live stream it on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter. If you can break away from your day job, which by now I would hope you don't have, but I'm still working on that with you, you can go on to Facebook, Twitter, or it's not Twitter, it's Periscope, I think is what it is. But you can go on any one of those platforms and YouTube, and there's a place where you could type your comments. They come directly back to me. I have software. So if you have a question about the podcast, then go ahead and hit us up. We will talk about it while we're talking about the podcast. But please, if you have a question about something else other than the topic on the podcast, go to one of two places. You can go to WhatsApp Messenger and search for Let's Talk Real Estate and get in our group. It's a free group. Or you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side, there's a support ticket there, a support link there. Those questions go to me directly. I check them. I used to check them every day, but now it's like every other day because I'm super busy these days. So go there. And if you can't find the WhatsApp Messenger group, Let's Talk Real Estate, just send me a support ticket and I'll send you a link so you can join for free. Last thing is, please make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you leave us a review wherever you watch us or hear us, because that's what kind of gets the word out there. And our mission, or my mission, which Peter has chosen to buy into, is that we talk enough about creative real estate that it's not a third world country conversation, especially with sellers. So the more we spread it around, the more we tell people. Of course, tell your friends, tell your worker, your people you work with, whoever's interested in real estate, come here. We have had 340, soon to be after today, 341 1-hour shows. So that's 300. It's probably 350 or 400 hours worth of training here. And as you have listened to us before, we definitely do not hide anything from you. We're not trying to sell you something. This is just a free platform. With that said, there is always a link inside of the description, and that link will always take you to some place pertaining to the podcast. And today's episode is the first episode where I reveal the calculator. So the link in there, in the chat, in the description today, you're going to hear about it towards the end of the podcast, is a new release. So you should go check it out. Mm-hmm. Which leads me into, okay, Pete, I don't think I have ever done this before.
Yes.
But today's podcast is almost a waste of time.
Well, thanks, folks, for joining us.
I want to talk about how to easily remove stress when negotiating Gargantuan real estate deals. Obviously, that's the title.
Yeah.
And I know we will, I know what we have will completely be valuable for our listeners. But the true story is I've partnered with some incredibly smart people and have created a software called Creative REI Reply. And in that system, we, meaning Sean and I, Sean's my other partner, Sean and I made a push button creative real estate calculator that does everything we're going to talk about today. It does it for you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it at the end what it does, but that's the link in the chat. Basically, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag because that calculator is in beta. So right now we're offering it for free, but it will not last that way. So, but I'm way ahead of myself. So let's go on with the podcast because I can't just make a podcast a commercial. I mean, I can. Many others do it, but I don't want to. So the reason why I want to click off today's episode is because I felt like our upcoming economy, okay, upcoming means today and tomorrow.
Yeah, and next week, and yeah.
Is going to desperately, very, very, very selective with that word. Mm-hmm. Desperately need people who have these skills and techniques to keep this economy. It's just going to keep the housing market moving. Yeah. Right. And the psychology of how to negotiate real estate sellers into a creative finance transaction has gotten just way too complex. Right. And has caused broken bridges to real estate success. And I know because I talk to these people. So I'm not bragging, but I mean, between the podcast, this podcast, I do coaching for another guru. So I talk to his clients. We're doing a big event this weekend, so I'll be on that event. So I get a lot of feedback from there. My email list, creative REI. So my personal email list for flipping houses for rookies, the REI reply list, email list, because one of my partners he owns REI reply, right? Thus the name Creative REI reply, right? Plus I do one-on-one calls with students that want to talk to me. I do a free 45-minute consultation. Plus we have a YouTube channel. I have a Facebook channel that are pretty active, right? Plus, I read a lot. So that has nothing to do with it, except I'm constantly in like forums and different places, like I answer questions and stuff like that. I don't know how I do all this, but I do it throughout my days. So my point is that I feel like what makes me different is I still do deals. Right. And I'm around people all the time that want to do deals or are doing deals and want to do more. Yeah. So I feel like I've got my finger on reality. Right. I feel that way. It doesn't mean you guys feel that way. It just means that that's why. And so these podcasts are my release of not having to build courses every other week and sell them. Not having to do seminars. I don't do seminars anymore. We used to do seminars. I don't do any of that anymore, unless it's for Creative REI Reply. Then I do them because that's a new company. Webinars. I've stopped doing all of that. This is my place to release what I consider is like going on in the economy. Okay, so I don't make this comment lightly that the economy is changing. And that our sellers and buyers are desperately going to need us. Yep. That is not some like tongue-in-cheek, I just read it in a book, or there's some headline I saw on Google, or some talking head said it, so I'm going to say it. It's not any of that. It's very deep for me, right? And I truly, and you know me, Peter, I'll get off this self-righteous path in a moment, but I really do have the passion and compassion to make sure that before they put me under the grass, that a lot more people know what creative real estate is. And if I had my way, I don't know if I could do it because I'm 59 and I don't have enough time to do everything I want to do. But if I have my way, I will form a group so that when somebody says they want to sell their house, instead of having two choices, which is a realtor and for sale by owner, they know about creative real estate. They know about our team. There's no reason why we can't form up like the realtors did. Yeah. And be licensed and be trained and all that. So, getting back to the podcast, if you're asking yourself right now, or in life right now, not right this moment, but right now, why are others able to do more real estate deals than me? I feel it is safe to say you have some anxiety about talking to sellers or being persuasive. So if you're thinking, how come other people do deals and I'm not? I can promise you, God, I will fall over in my coffin saying this. It is not training. You do not need to train yourself. It is not because you don't know. Because if you, as we said, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but as we said in the last two podcasts, because I'm kind of on a series here. I haven't told anybody, but I'm kind of on a series here. If you just talk to sellers, they will teach you what they want, and that will guide your education. Right? Yeah. I mean, think about it. When you started your first job, what was it like? You came on the job, and what was it like? It was foreign to you, right?
Yeah, you're not sure what you can do. I remember it's like, gee, if I can get through 1 week, it'll probably be the same next week. So let me see if I can get through the next couple of days, and learn what you can and find the ropes and who to talk to. And you just don't know.
It's as simple as where's the bathroom and what time can I have my lunch? Right? I mean, it's just that simple. And once you do it a couple of days, it's like snap, pop, crack, right?
Yeah. Will I get there in time? When do I have to leave? Will there be traffic? Will it be late? Will I be in trouble? Well, it can be anything.
So I want to clear up this dirty word, Peter. This dirty, horrible, crappy, oh my God, evil, evil word.
Should I hold my ears?
Persuasive.
Oh God.
So persuasive in my world, we call it Bill's Planet, it simply means you propose to your seller an irresistible offer that he or she can that they can't get anywhere else. And he or she will likely be convinced or compelled, maybe even mentally be forced into doing the deal because it's so good. Okay, so let me be straight. As always, I just don't. I have a nice headline title, and I don't hit it direct on and say like I'm everybody else. Here's your checklist on how to do that. Because you know what? If you're listening to me right now, this is not your first rodeo. This is not your first podcast. You have probably read books. You've probably done stuff. Or no. You've read books and bought courses, but you haven't done anything. So that's the reason why my podcasts get a little bit profound, is because I'm talking to you, Mr. Procrastinator. I'm talking to you, the guy that is like not doing, or the girl that's not doing crap. They know all the answers. I have some of those in my coaching group. They ask a question, they get all the answers, but they're not doing deals.
Yep.
They've memorized the answers, but they haven't done the actions. Right?
Yep, I know what you mean.
So, so the first thing that I want you to understand is the mindset that you're giving the seller value. You actually have like a little gold coin in your pocket that we're giving you. And if they answer the questions right, you'll give them the gold coin. And it's backwards, because most people beg for deals and don't even realize they're begging for deals.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like begging like a kid begs for an ice pop. I'm talking about they say things and do things without thinking. They try to promise things to lure them in, right? They try to make it so that if you give them gifts, they'll like you. Or if you're really super smart, they'll do the deal with you. And I could tell you right now, after doing lots of deals and speaking to hundreds and hundreds of deals, and speaking to thousands and thousands of sellers, propitiation, giving gifts, propitiation means to give gifts to be your friend, does not work. Knowledge does not work. You want to know why?
Yeah.
2 reasons. Number one, and I'm off. I guess I'm off on a tangent this morning. Number one, there's closing agents that can do it for you. So you don't need to be that smart. The closing agents will be smart for you. All you need to do is have an idea of what you want to do, and they can make it happen. But I will tell you right now, I'm announcing in Bill's world right now what I think, right? That Google's done.
Wow. Holy cow.
Google's finished.
You just said Google is finished.
Right.
Oh my God.
There's this new thing going around in society called Chat GBT.
Chat GBT.
Yeah. It's an artificial intelligence software. You ask it a question, it will write you an answer. My daughter was here last night, who's a professor at a college, and the college has had meetings on this Chat GBT because they're afraid that a college student can actually say, write me a paper on, and it will write a paper.
Oh no. Oh my God.
It's smart as hell. It's different. See, with Google, there's web pages. So there's guys like me that make web pages, and we entice you to do certain things. So Google's using my crooked marketing information to get you to do something as their search tool.
Wait a minute, why'd you call it crooked?
Because it's slanted towards me.
Oh, not like criminally crooked, but just slant. Okay, slant.
Yeah, it's just slanted towards me, right? It's a crooked opinion of what is a black shoe, right? It's like most people have websites to do that. Anyways, my point is this: the ChatGPT doesn't need to go to a website to get its information.
Wow.
Right?
So it already accumulated all its own information.
Well, it's got a lot of information. So anyways, my point is this, that life is going to change. The way we educate ourselves is going to change. So education is not what you need. You need to talk to a seller and observe the seller. The best, and not many people talk about this, I'm totally off on a tangent. The best education you could get is observation.
You can't argue with observation, right? I'm an educator. You can talk about what's in books, talk what somebody said, videos, but when you see something yourself, there's an old Asian philosophy: nothing is true for you until you observe it yourself. So if you observe something, how do you argue with that? You see it, you know it. So it's incredibly valuable. But you have to go do it, right? You have to go do it.
So now let's talk about that. What do we do? So here's the reason why I say that you have to change your mindset. And the mindset is that you have something of value for your seller, and they're lucky they ran into you. And here's the reason why I say this with so much confidence. And it's because of our formula that we've not talked about in quite a while. We used to talk about it quite a bit. And the formula is 4 steps, and here it is. Step number 1, find and communicate to a motivated seller. So what's the flip side of that, Peter? You talk about it all the time. What do we not do?
Well, we don't find them. We're trying to convince somebody to be one.
Right. So it says find and communicate to a motivated seller. It doesn't say convince somebody to be a motivated seller.
No.
So
you're good at it. So if somebody's a little on the edge, you can get them to see. But if they're like, no effing way, you're not going to change your mind either, because I do not eat meat.
Right.
Take that hamburger away from me. You can't convince the guy. Oh, it's good. You forget it. It just doesn't go that way.
So what you need to realize is that 97% of the people that you talk to are not going to want to do a creative deal, or they just don't want to be bothered with it. They're kind of a little bit ignorant, and they think they know best, and they're in the know with the lawyers and the realtors that are stealing their money, and they don't know it. Okay, so you need to roll through those people, and I'm going to tell you how to do that in a few minutes. Okay, because the original name of this podcast was going to be how to know whether you got a good deal or not in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Right. So step 1, find and communicate to a motivated seller. So I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole podcast by itself, but the audience that you speak to with your marketing is who is going to respond. So if you promote to foreclosure people, they're going to want to sell a house most likely. If you promote to divorce people, they're going to want to sell a house. Okay, you speak to for sale by owners, they're trying to sell a house. Okay, so each niche or each situation, right? Each niche and each situation has a different audience.
Right.
Now, they don't vary a lot, but they do vary, and they do overlap, right? So number 2, tell them what you do. And here we go. I'm going to give it to you. You should write this down if you're able to. We buy houses for top dollar on the date of your choice without any fees. That's what we do. We buy houses for top dollar on the date of your choice without any fees. Number 3, ask them, which is this is the trick. 3 and 4 is the trick, because it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Ask them what's needed and wanted with this simple question. What would have to happen for me to buy your house today, Mr. or Mrs. Seller? Which is kind of crazy to me, because so many people run around looking for scripts and what do I say? And when I listen to calls, I listen to coaching calls, or I ask students, did you ask them what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And they always say, oh, I forgot to do that.
Mhm.
It should be the first question until you get good. Which, by the way, the only difference between anybody listening to me and my skill is, first of all, I've spoken to thousands of sellers, so I've heard a lot of crap, and I figured out how to answer. Not only have I heard it, I've heard it probably 100 times.
Yeah, and it's
So
the same stuff. It's the same little bag. It's not like 1,000 different variations. It's just same stuff.
There's 12 to 15 things I hear over and over and over again. So once you hear them enough times, you'll start to realize it's the same 12 or 15 objections that you're handling.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is that the difference between our listeners and me, or you and me, is because I've just put my time in. It's not that I'm smarter. I just put my time in. And I've talked to enough sellers. And I've got answers. So yes, I can convert somebody, but you don't need to do that. What you need to do is just dial for dollars until you find that motivated seller, because the motivated seller says yes more than he says no, and you will get a deal. And they will allow you to make a deal and make mistakes, because they're so motivated and not desperate. Desperate's different. Motivated is they want to do it, but they don't want to give the farm away, or they're not going to make stupid decisions they're going to regret later.
Yeah.
Right. Step number 4. Once they tell you what they want, you give them what's wanted and needed. My wife's name is Pamela. Pamela, what would you like for dinner on Valentine's Day?
Right.
And she says, well, I would like blah, 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 blah. So would I be stupid not to give her that?
No, you would be called what's called a husband.
Right. So if she says that she wants to have Indian food, she's on an Indian food kick lately. So I'm going to deliver the Indian food in abundance. I'm going to get her Indian food. I'm going to get a flower, some flowers for her. And when she gets all done, I'm going to make sure she has some chocolate, because she loves chocolate, and not like Valentine's Day chocolate, specific type of chocolate. I'm going to make sure the heat is turned up in the house, because she likes it really warm. Right. That's exchange in abundance. It's not that I'm going to just give her what she wants. It's all the little details around what she wants that I'm going to give her to make her feel that I've been thinking about her.
Yep.
And then I'm like in her world, going through what she's going through. And that's what you do with a seller, is you pay attention to the details. And you do the little things that they want.
Yep.
Right? And those little things could be things like, well, you don't have to clean the house out. Just take what you want and we'll do the rest.
Yes, right.
Oh, don't worry about, you want to go, it's February right now. You want to go till June because you want your grandchild that's living in the house with you to graduate in the school? No problem. We'll do the paperwork now and we'll do it in June. Right? Those little details are what makes you popular with your seller. It's not how smart you are. It's how well you observe and be human and pay attention to the details that triggers them. Now, the last one, Peter, is a whole podcast in itself. In fact, there's many podcasts we've done, probably at this point, dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Give them what's needed and wanted. I can hear it now. But Bill, what happens if they want too much money?
Yeah.
See, this is where most get stuck. They often think they can't do that, and they give them, they feel like they can't give them what they want. Unless you think like this. A, I can pay whatever price the seller asks if I get to pick my terms.
Yep.
Meaning monthly payments. And how long. Right? So I've done many deals, and I used to describe it in an earlier podcast, like the guy that's stuck on price and it's too much. He's the best customer in the world, because he's not going to pay attention to the monthly payments. He's not going to pay attention to leave the lawnmower in the garage and leave the furniture in the house. And he's the guy that's going to give you the earth, wind, and moon.
Because he gets his price.
Because he gets the price.
Because if he's like that on it, not much chance that someone else is going to come along and do that.
Right.
He's really stuck on the price.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're stuck on the price, it's because no one has come along and given them the price. So if you can find a way to do that, you're one of the few people who can.
By the way, we call that a fixed idea.
Yeah, in terms of like fixed, in terms of stuck.
Yeah.
It's stuck.
All right, so A, I can pay whatever price the seller asks, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I get to pick the terms. B, and if they don't want payments, ask how much of a discount they will give you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to clarify this as simple as I can. I know I've talked about this before, but I'm hoping that today I can get somebody to go, aha.
Mm-hmm.
My grandson does. My grandson goes,
is that right?
I know. He goes, aha.
With the finger with the finger in the air.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
He's 4.
Yeah.
Now here's the magic. This is where people get taken out at the knees. Because if they don't want to take payments,
mm-hmm.
they got to give you a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Most sellers do not know when they sell a house, the first 12 to 15% of their profit goes to closing costs for selling the house with a realtor. And that's like, if it's not, they think it costs 5 or 6% because that's what the realtor costs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When people go through a whole transaction and get to the settlement statement and look at the bottom line and go, where'd my money go? Yeah.
Right. So technically, the realtor's job is to find the buyer, write a purchase and sales contract, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, many realtors that do 20 deals and above per year.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Yeah, per year.
Yeah, per year.
Right? I know many that do 20 a month, but per year, if they're doing 20 deals per year or more, they have figured out that they need to consult their seller through the transaction to get their money. Because realize, even though the seller's paying them to go find the buyer for them and put them under contract, if they don't massage the deal along, they don't get paid at the closing because the closings blow up.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen. There's appraisals and inspections, and I have to fix this. Should I not? And things come up. All the other guys on the team.
88. That's right. 88.7% of all for sale by owners end up with a realtor. My belief is because they don't spend enough or do enough on marketing, or they don't receive the calls. I could tell you, calling FSBO, for sale by owners, FSBOs, a lot of people don't answer the phone. They can't be bothered. They're working, doing their living their life, and they don't realize how difficult it is to sell a house.
Yeah, they don't take the calls themselves.
Right.
Okay.
So you have, if you're not using a realtor, you have marketing fees, you have negotiating costs. 3 to 5% of every deal is negotiating. Last house you bought, you didn't just say I'll pay full asking price.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you're in the middle of COVID, which only happens once every 100 years, evidently, right? Yeah. So you ask, can I get a discount? Then you have the inspector come in, and the inspector spooks your buyer, so now you got to reel them back in, right? You either have to do the repairs or give them some sort of a seller concession, right?
Yep.
Anyways, it goes on and on and on, right? And repairs, by the way, if you think you got a pretty house and you don't need repairs, I'm going to tell you, the repairs that you're going to need are code violations, because your house was built in 1980 and you're selling in 2023, and there's new codes and you don't even know it. So the point is that even if we were generous and said that the seller's really savvy, right, and can get away with 10%, which most transactions that I've done, I can't even get them below 10%, maybe 8%. But it's going to cost you at least 10%, the seller at least 10% to sell. Okay? So when you say, I want to get a discount, there's your discount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell people who don't know, they're not familiar. A lot of times on Zillow, it says 11% closing costs. It tells you the number, 34,000, 42,000. It says it right there. And they're at 11. That's not a bad number.
Plus 6,000.
Yeah, for miscellaneous repairs.
Right.
Yeah.
So we come along and tell our sellers about these most often unknown expenses. And we give them the solution that they don't have to spend this money with us. The reason why is because we're going to get the buyer to pay those fees. Even when we have a closing 2 years later, we're going to get the buyer to absorb those fees. First of all, if we do a lot of the work, the negotiating and all that kind of stuff, we're going to absorb some of it, and the seller's going to, and the buyer's going to absorb some of it. So the seller will have about a 3% closing cost because we can't pay their conveyance tax, we can't pay their attorney. We can, but it's not right to do that. So there will be about 3%. Okay, 2 to 3%. But we're going to give them full asking price, so they have plenty of room. So we're saving them a ton of money by explaining this to them. So you have to approach this seller with, you have the pot of gold. Okay? And you're going to help them. And if you do this as if it was your brother or sister or your mom or dad, and you sincerely just want to help them, your conversation with them is going to be not anxious. You don't need to know a script. You don't need to, you're calling them up to find out, hey, brother, hey, sister, what's going on? Tell me about it.
Yep.
Right? And what a seller wouldn't want that your value add just so the seller doesn't want the fees, especially if they're for sale by owner. That's why they're for sale by owner. They're trying to save the fees for whatever reason.
Sure.
So you come along and say, I can be your concierge. You're for sale by owner concierge, and I can show you how to go through the transaction. And here's how I'm going to do it. We sell it on a price, and I'm going to go get more than that from your buyer, and they're going to pay me. They're going to pay all the closing costs, but you're going to get your price. Who wouldn't be interested in that? So here's something that most of our listeners probably haven't heard, Peter.
Really?
Yeah.
At the 341 podcast, you got another nugget there.
What a truly skilled, creative real estate entrepreneur does is two things. Comfortably shows the seller, this is not one of them, so we're going to comfortably show the seller the difference between an asset and a liability. So just to clear that up, an asset brings in money. A liability takes away money.
Yep.
And to most believe their family home that they live in is an asset. It is not. It's the bank's asset. It's your liability because it costs you money. It doesn't bring money into you. Unless, of course, you're renting it. That's another story. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, so now pay attention to this because this is vital. It's an underlying current that you have with every seller that you don't think about. And it's not even that you need to talk about it. You just need to understand what you are doing with this seller.
Yep.
So in very many cases, we are taking property that is costing the seller money because they live in it, and we're going to turn it into an asset for them. So we're switching it from a liability, like you're paying $1,600 a month for a mortgage. How about if you keep that property and turn it from a liability that's costing you money into an asset?
Yep.
Right? And that's what we're doing as a creative real estate entrepreneur, is we're talking to sellers about converting their liabilities into assets. Now, some of them want that, some of them don't. Now let me go on to the next section, and I'm going to come back to this. Right. So
Okay.
now if they already have if they already have it rented and making money, it's not a liability anymore, right? It's an asset because they're making money.
No, the property wouldn't be. They may have some personal liability or some personal problems, which means they might want to not do that anymore, which would give us an edge in. But no, they're making money on it.
So here's what happens. Our value add then. So our first person that's living in it, the value add is we're going to take it from costing you money to making you money. And even if it's you don't have to make the payments anymore and you can walk away, that's making them money because we're going to save all the closing costs. The second one is there's a renter in there, right? And like you alluded to, they could be a burned out landlord. They don't want to collect the rent anymore. They move to another state. They move to another country, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Now watch this. The value add you're going to give that landlord, even if it is an accidental landlord. An accidental landlord is, we bought a house and we moved into the new house and we're going to try to sell this house and it didn't sell and we couldn't sell it. So we had 2 mortgages. So we put somebody in there just to pay the mortgage. That's an accidental landlord.
Yeah.
Okay? Our value add is to have them keep collecting the money or getting the mortgage paid without the landlord obligations.
Right. And that wears pretty thin after a little while. If you know,
landlord obligations.
Some guys are professionals. That's what they do it's their job. But if it's not your job, you're not a professional. It's called an aggravation, right?
Right. Yep. And of course, we promised this. We take on the landlord obligations, and we promised that because we know we can assign our buyers the landlord obligations. So we're not taking those landlord obligations on. We're just saying we're going to take care of it, and then we're going to assign our buyers, because we do rent to own, and because they own a house. Like I've done 2 closings this week. I've sold 2 houses this week. Actually, I've done 1, and I'm doing another one tomorrow. And I had a whole conversation, which I recorded, and we're going to put in the Creative REI replay system so you can see how I close houses, right? In Ohio. I'm in Connecticut. She's in Ohio, right? And I mean, I have a $190,000 house, and I'm doing closing tomorrow, and the girl's giving us $25,000 down and 2 months rent. Because I told her that she doesn't get her money back unless she goes to closing, and she's doing all the repairs. I'm not doing. You're getting the house. I'm going to give you the keys. We're going to sign documents Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock. I'm going to give you the keys and see you later.
Yep.
Send me a check next month. Right. That's how we do it. But the documents say how we're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not pitching Creative REI Reply, but I used to only give my documents away in the coaching group. Now they're all in Creative REI Reply. All the checklists are there. All the documents are there. Videos on how to fill out the documents. Everything is in Creative REI Reply, which is why we call it a business in a box, a creative real estate business in a box, because everything you need is in there. Okay. See, if you understand our purpose, as I just laid it out, we're taking the seller's liabilities and turning them into assets, and it becomes very easy to confront the seller. So you're going to come to a seller and you're going to say, "Hey, I'm going to. It's costing you money right now. I'm going to stop that expense. I'm going to turn it into an asset and make you money, and save you all the fees to do that because I'm going to get the buyer to pay the fees." Now you're bringing value that they want. So speaking to a seller is no different than if this was your brother and you wanted to help him out. Or if this was your sister and you wanted to help her out. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I would not be Bill Hawthorne if I didn't give you a simple, casual conversation to do this. Agreed?
Absolutely. Because, folks, when you hear Bill, if you listen to some of his conversations on the phone that are somewhere that you can find, it's almost like shocking that, like, everybody else, the lawyer, the realtor, the banker, I mean, everybody, when they talk to you, how do they talk to you? Like you're a customer and they're in charge and they're very professional and they hold all the power and they're very serious and usually and it's just kind of boring. It's not like how people talk to each other. And when you talk, and I try to do it, I think it's more natural for me. That's what we're trying to do. Talk to them, listen. And the first thing you said today was value add for the seller, and you didn't say much about it, but that's a big shift from what most of us get into this for in the first place. I want to make a bunch of money, but you only do that if you help the seller with whatever he wants. You really got to be interested in the other guy, not so much you. Forget you. If you help the other guy, what's that Zig Ziglar thing? You're helping up people with what they want, you get what you want. One of those things, right? That's a great line.
Right. So you can't say, forget about you. You know what you want. So you extract as much data from the seller on what they want, and then you match what you want, what they want, and you adjust it to get what you end up on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So here we go. The casual conversation.
Yes.
So what's your price?
You want to role play?
No, because I think because we only have.
No, okay. I thought you were looking at me like you wanted me to talk.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, you're 100% correct. So that's the point. He thought I was speaking to him.
Okay, you win. See, I mean, he's looking at me. But if you listen, he's looking at me on the screen. I'm thinking he's asking me a question.
When I was in Florida last year, I was down there for several months during COVID, I think. I went on 3 months. I did 3 months worth of live closing calls that I invited my monthly mastery people, my coaching call, and anybody that was on my Let's Talk Real Estate app. I invited them to a Zoom call, and I made live seller calls, closing deals while they watched me.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken those calls and I put a handful of them in Creative REA Replay so you can watch them there.
Mm-hmm.
So I start off with, okay, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, what's your price? Well, first of all, I ask, is the house for sale?
Yeah.
Yes. Whose name is on the deed? So I make sure I have the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ask, so what are you asking? What's your price? That's pretty common. That's pretty easy question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once they tell me, I say, oh, for me to be able to pay that price, you have to use these words, not that much, or you can't say for me to pay that much because it insinuates it's too much.
You're right.
Right. So you have to say, for me to be able to pay that price,
mm-hmm.
I would need to make monthly payments. Can we talk about that?
Right. Not can we do that? Can we talk about it? See the difference?
Right.
Can we do? Will you do that?
Right.
Well, you ask him to make a decision. He doesn't have any details or data how it works and the benefit to him. Can we talk about that? Like what? Blah blah, and then you can at least work through it.
And if they say yes, now here, this is magic. I'm telling you, this is years of experience that I've charged for this information for a long time, and now I'm giving it to you for free. If they say yes, they're willing to make payments or they're willing to talk about it. Yep. You say, okay, so how much do you pay monthly now?
Yep.
And if they say $1,312, you say, okay, I can give you $1,312 per month.
Mm-hmm.
You just negotiated your payment.
Yep.
If they say, no, I want $1,500, then you say, okay, and you negotiate. You don't negotiate the $1,312, let's say $1,300, you negotiate the $200. Well, if I give you $200, I can't make any money. And if I'm not making any money and I'm in the deal, how interested am I going to be to take care of your property or pay you every single month?
Yeah.
Right. And they usually back down.
Yeah. Unless we could rent it, sell it on a rental for $2,000, then maybe it wouldn't be a problem.
Well, here's the interesting thing is if they want all that money, then you just turn them into a slot deal and you just go make your fee and that's it. And if you don't know what a slot deal is, it's a sandwich lease option transfer. Just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and go watch a video. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they say that it's free and clear and they don't have a payment,
mm-hmm.
ask them, how much would you like as a profit each month for the house?
Yeah, the actual cash flow profit in their pocket. Okay.
I'd like to get $700 a month. And then on top of that, and it won't be that easy, but on top of that, you add your taxes and insurance. And then I always try to add on top of that. I mean, I do $200,000 houses, so my payments are $1,500-$1,600. You know, we have houses that are $500 or $600, so I don't add $200 on top of that. Although lately I have been, but I add a couple $100 on top of that number. Now, I'm not going to get into this because this is very technical and we don't have time, but I want you to know that one of the things that irks the living crap out of me is when people are trying to figure out the income and they go to rentometer or rental meter, as they could call it.
Yep.
And they're trying to figure out what the rent is. That's effing bullcrap, because you're not renting the house. You're selling the house and giving them an intermediate mortgage so they can go get qualified and get you paid off.
That's
so
right.
What you need to do is you need to go to a simple, just type in Google simple mortgage calculator. The interest will pop up, the current interest, like I did one the other day, was 6.7% was the interest. You put the dollar amount of what you're selling for without removing the deposit money. So if you're selling for $200,000 and you plan on getting 10 grand down, you don't put it in for 190, you put it in for 200. You add the taxes and insurance in the payment, and it for a 30-year amortization on the current mortgage at 6.7%, like I did the other day. So no PMI insurance, pre-mortgage insurance, none of that. You just put the price that you're selling for. Don't remove the deposit money or down payment money. The price you sell for, the interest rate, the tax, and the insurance, and if there's an HOA fee.
Yeah.
Homeowner association fee, right? So you add all that up, and it spits out, $1,350. I then add we'll say $150 to it. So I'll say, okay, I'm going to get $1,500.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you're clever, I'm going to just, if you have questions about this, I shouldn't be doing this on the podcast. What I do on a free and clear property is I take that $1,500 and I use what I call my MAP, maximum allowable payment formula. I take the $1,500, multiply it by 85%. I subtract the taxes, the insurance, and the HOA fee, and that's the most amount, the maximum payment I could give to a free and clear owner. I negotiate from there. So if I have a $1,500 payment and it comes out to be that I can pay $900, I'll say to the seller, the most I can pay is $700. And I negotiate from there. Now, I just did that really quick. I'm sure I'm going to get questions on that. I didn't even write that down. I'm just giving you because I'm going to get support tickets about it. The point is that Creative REI Reply Calculator does that all for you by pushing a few buttons. Okay, good. So let me just catch up on my notes. Okay, so am I good? Did I get too? Did I go in the weeds too much?
No. Well, if someone's never heard what you just said, it's fine. Is there some place they can get that information?
Yeah, they can. I'm going to tell them where to do that in a few minutes.
Yeah, that all makes sense. You know, why do you take 1,500 multiplied by 85? You want to keep 50% on aside for repairs or whatever. You know, a buffer. That's a normal thing. You don't buy things down to the penny. You put a little extra aside. Simple things like that.
There's a link in the chat that will take you to a free version of the calculator, so it will do all this for you. All right. So the last thing I want to say about what I just babbled off there is why would you want to charge more money than what the mortgage calculator says, like the $150? It's to motivate your buyer so they can go get a mortgage and have a cheaper monthly payment. It's a built-in motivation so that they don't just if you use Rentometer and you go lower than what their monthly mortgage payment is, they're never going to want to get a mortgage and they're going to be in there forever. And you're never going to get your equity.
I mean, it shouldn't be lower, but prices change, the market changes, everything changes. But there's no landlord in the world who has to pay X amount for his property, who rents it for X. He's got to rent for X plus something so you make money. Who buys something and sells it for what you paid? You gotta mark things up so you make some money. What are you doing it for?
Okay, so let's back up. So you start off with what's your price? They tell you. You say, okay, for me to be able to pay that price, I need to make monthly payments. Can we talk about that?
Yep.
You say, okay, how much do you pay monthly now? And when they give you that number, you tell them, okay, here's how I can do it. If they have a free and clear house, you do the map thing that I just told you, right? Yeah. Or you ask them how much profit did they want. Okay.
But then make sure we can pay it, because we just run the numbers then and verify that it's okay.
Right.
You can't give them more than we're getting coming in.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we bounce all of this up against what our buyer is willing to give us. Now, if they say that they don't want to do payments, you say, okay, I need a discount, and you talk about the 10% closing costs if you want to. But you got to get at least a 10% discount. I prefer you get it between 70 and 90% is the discount. I'm sorry. I'm saying it backwards.
That's what we'd be paying, 70 to 90%.
So you want a 10% to 30% discount or more.
Yeah.
Right. If that's the case, if they say they want all cash, don't get nervous. Don't think, oh, where am I going to get the cash? Sign an option agreement with them and bring it to the market and get all cash from them and make a fee. Because if you're going to have the 10%, you have at least 10% or 15%, you can make that money. Just real quick, so because we're at the hour now and I still have 3 more pages of notes. So real quick, if you got a $200,000 house and got a 10% discount, that would be $180,000 you would sign an option agreement for.
Yep.
You could take that deal and put it on the market for $185,000 and make $5,000. You would be $15,000 below market value, and you would have a rush to get to the house. And you can make $5,000. Okay. You want to be below the market value so you get attention. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3. So now we're moving on. Then, once we get the payment, or whether they want a discount, you want to get the amount of time to do the deal. Okay. So there's 2 things here, which I've never said before. There's 2 things. So time is with payments. I normally do 2 years, which is a slot deal. 7 years or 10 years. Those are my time periods or more. I don't do 5-year balloons anymore. My friend taught me balloons are for clowns. So I try not to do balloons, because the balloons, in the beginning, you might want to just do the deal. A balloon means that you'll make payments, and at the end of 5 years, you got to pay the full amount of mortgage. I try not to do that. Okay. So my common times are 2 years for a slot, 7 years or 10 years or more.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's if they want to make payments. You talk about time.
That's right.
Duration. If they want a discount, you still need to talk about duration. Like, will they let you do the option agreement for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days? So that's your duration. So it's a duration for payments, because it's the formula is price, payment, duration, and deposit if they talk about it, right?
Yes.
So this is what we're trying to figure out. Okay, so you need to figure out the duration. So if they want a discount, you ask for 90 days. Hey, what the hell? The realtor's going to ask for 6 months. You're asking for 3 months. And oh yeah, by the way, if they sign an option agreement with you first before they sign a realtor agreement, they can tell the realtor to make you exclusive. They don't like to do that. That means that if you get the buyer first, they don't pay the realtor the commission. So they can have you and the realtor together try to sell the house. So what seller wouldn't want 2 different ways or 2 different markets trying to sell a house? Right?
Sure.
Lastly, if they bring it up and only bring it up, you talk about the deposit amount of money. So the thing to know about the deposit amount of money is that you should plan on getting 3% down from your buyer. That's the least you should take for a buyer to go into a house.
Yep.
I work on 10%, so I always ask for 10%. I'll go as low as 3%.
Right.
But I ask 10%. Okay. The reason why you need to know that is because an FHA mortgage requires 3% minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to get qualified for a mortgage, you need at least 3% down. And once you put them in the house, you have other battles to fight. You don't want to fight the money too.
Mm.
Plus, I put them on a down payment assistance program. I make them pay more if they have low percent. But here's my point. You can use up to 50% of that 3% to give to your seller. So if they want money now, you can give them. So if the buyer wants you to pay $100,000, 3% of 100,000, which you think you could sell for. Let me back up. If the buyer wants a deposit, and you think
if the seller wants a deposit.
Yes, I'm sorry. If a seller wants a deposit, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If the seller wants a deposit, and you know you could sell to your buyer for $100,000, and 3% is $3,000, you can't offer your seller more than $1,500 for a down payment.
Right.
Okay, so that's how you handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whew. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that if you're anxious or nervous, what you need to do is you need to get the idea that you have value to bring to them. You bring value to this seller.
Yeah.
And then I gave you the script at the end so you can kind of get that, so you can go through that and talk to them very casually. And you will not be nervous. I'm telling you, do this at least 5 times and you'll be like, oh. Yes, I have. So John is asking, have I ever sold out from a lease early to close earlier? Absolutely.
Wait, what's it? What is
Have
that?
you ever sold out from a lease earlier to close earlier? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, those numbers, 2 years, 7 years, those are maximums, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty common.
Yeah. Like, a
Okay.
realtor has a 6-month contract. You don't wait till the 6th month to sell the property. You do it as soon as you can. But he has up to. That's the deal.
All right. So here's my pitch. It's not even a pitch because it's free. So this is exactly why we created this calculator, because for 20 years I've been teaching this stuff, or at least 10 years anyways, teaching this stuff, and it's always seemed so complex. Because I rattled off these numbers like I've done them 100 times, which I have. And people that are listening to me, their eyes gloss over and they don't know what I'm talking about. And they got to listen 400 times. And when they get on the call, they forget to do it all.
Yeah.
Right? Things like, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? They're so wrapped up in the numbers and making the offer, they forget to ask that question. So this calculator, you put 5 or 6 numbers into it, which we show you which numbers you want to put into it, or you need to put into it, which, by the way, it's the four numbers that we just talked about to begin with. It's price, terms, duration. I'm sorry, price, payment, duration, and deposit. Those are the first 4 numbers. And then we put a Zillow number in there. So that's 5.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you can get other information, that's great, but you don't need it to do the calculation. You hit the calculate button, and all 7 of my deals show up with a red, yellow, and green light. Red is no, don't do that.
That's not a deal.
Yellow is massage the numbers a little bit. We can make it a deal. And green is go, go, go. It's a deal.
And it's telling you which deal of the possibles to do.
Right. The green lights. All 7 deals are on the right side, and it tells you which deal you can do, right? Now, you click on the deal type on the right. So you click on the green button. You do this with the seller on the phone, right? You click on the green deal, and it shows you on the right side the math that we're using. And then on the left side is a handful of things that you need to go over with the seller about that transaction. So if it's a slot deal, it talks about how you're going to do the slot deal, and you tell your seller, here's what we're going to do. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with this? The reason why I did that is because too many sellers are ghosting you if you're not explaining it. So you explain it to them, and they have this idea how it's going to happen, and then you send them paperwork, and it doesn't match.
Yeah.
Because you have your version of my script, and you didn't do it correctly, and then you go use my paperwork, and they don't match. So we have on the left side, and you click on the box. and it crosses it out once you've done it. And then you go to the next one and it crosses it out. And so you go through the handful of things and you need to tell them about the deal. Once you've gone over that and there's still a yes, you hit the save button on the bottom of this screen, and a pop-up window comes up and it says, do you want to download the memorandum, or do you want to send it to the seller right now for a signature? It takes the numbers off the deal you're on, extracts it out of there, takes their phone number, it takes all the information about the seller, and it puts it on the memorandum. You click send it to the seller, it sends them an email while you're on the phone. They can bring it up and they can sign the memorandum. And it comes back to you in an email, and it goes to them and it goes to you. You can put your own logos on there. You can do all that stuff on the memorandum. I know nobody has that. Well, oh, yeah, by the way, if you're in Creative Aria Replay, obviously it's all in there. We will soon be releasing, I think in another week or two, in Creative Aria Replay. I'm not talking about the free version, but in Creative Aria Replay, we will soon have a version. So if you decide you want to do a subject to deal, you click on the subject to button, extracts all the subject to documents, pre-populates them, and gets them ready for signature. So you can't make a mistake with documents anymore.
That's crazy, Bill.
Okay, so you send this right to your customers. Pretty cool, right?
That's nuts. That's beyond cool. That's nuts cool.
Okay, so we need to go over my last thought for you. I know we're 6 minutes over. This is so easy to do. Why not have a virtual assistant do it for you? It takes all the training out of being an acquisition manager. Right? Yeah. You get 3 shots to use it, Brian, to test it out. So it could actually be used for a virtual assistant, because you don't need to be a trained acquisition manager anymore like we've always been trying to do. I've omitted all the training to be a creative real estate acquisition manager. This is no different, Peter, than you have a seller on the phone and they're telling you about their deal and they're like, hang on a second, and put them on hold. And then call me up or call Sean up or call you up and say, hey, I have this deal. And I say, or you say, or Sean says, yeah, do this or do that or do this. Okay, cool. I got it. And then you hang up with me and you pick up, okay, here's my offers. That's what it's like. And you just push the button and it happens in seconds. As if we were making your deal for you. Okay? So the link's in the description of this podcast, wherever you're watching it or listening to it. Go there. And as a warning, I want you to know that I don't know how long this will last, but it is a beta. So you may be listening to this recording later on, maybe a year down the road or months down the road, and we stopped the beta testing, and we made the link so you have to buy it. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I have ideas of what we're going to do, but just realize that if you're listening to this podcast, you should not wait. You should go there and get the link while you can.
Well, just think how much you'll learn just using it 3 times. Right? You know, you see, like, oh, that's how that works. That'll help you understand how to do deals, because how the math works and the things that people, all the questions people ask, with 3 good examples. That's pretty valuable.
So cool. Rocky says, thank you for the beta version. You're welcome, Rocky. Glad you're here today. All right, cool. So we're 8 minutes after. So we're going to bug out. Hopefully today puts your nerves at ease a little bit. The final punchline is, the way I started, is you need to just know you're bringing extreme value to your seller. They want to talk to you because you can save them the closing costs, and you can help them with things they have no idea that are going to happen to them in the future, most often. And you just need to talk to them like you're your brother or sister, and you're just helping them like you're at a party and you're just talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Make sense?
Absolutely.
So it should just be, and that's the reason why I was doing live closing calls, is because you, Peter, promoted a lot things that I didn't know about me. Like folks, you would say, folks, it's very conversational. You would be, you're in a house with me and you get out and you're like, I can't believe how casual you are. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, because that's how it should be. That's what makes it comfortable. That's what takes away the anxiety.
We're not driving up in a Mercedes with pointy shoes, all shiny, a nice slick haircut, and your haircut's pretty good. And then, in a fancy suit and all that, with rings on and Rolex watches, although you have nice watches. We're not those people. We're people. Because you know what? Sellers and buyers don't like that. They feel a little overwhelmed and intimidated. Like, look at this rich friggin' guy. He's making too much money. He's got that fancy car, so he's probably going to get too much out of me. We're normal people. We walk in like people.
Yeah, the problem.
Comfortable. That's my rant.
You just said, look what Rocky said. Ouch! I'm selling a Benz now. So the last thing I want to say, just because you said that, and we're way over. So think of this: when you go to a used car lot, that sleazy used car salesman that you don't like, which there aren't many of them these days, but that stereotype salesman, he's more interested in selling you something for his commission than what you really want.
Yep.
So if you don't like that type of sales, don't do that. Don't try to sell it for your commission, which is where we get neediness. That's a whole nother podcast. Maybe I'll do that next week. Neediness leaks through. If you have a must-have, I must have this profit, it will blow the deal up. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to help the person and pay attention to the details and not worry about your commission until the deal is done. I mean, you need to focus on it, but that should not be the reason why you're doing the deal. Okay, I'm at 111. See you later. Have a good week. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like us. Make sure you give us comments. Go to Flipping Houses for Rookies. All this stuff I'm talking about, there's a lot of free stuff there. Go there, check it out, and we'll talk to you on episode number 342. Have a good week, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.